People think the woods are dangerous because of animals, bears, wolves. But animals don't wait for you to fall asleep. Sometimes, what you should be afraid of is already inside. A man locked himself in a remote hunting cabin, checked every camera, every angle, nothing outside. And still, he woke up feeling like something had moved inside the room. And one man kept seeing the same figure, coming back at the exact same time. Another hunter started noticing someone sitting in his chair during the day. 3 hunters, 3 patterns, and none of them could explain what was happening. My name is Ray Callahan. I'm 48. I've hunted whitetail out of the same remote cabin in northern Maine for 11 years. 1 room, wood stove, 1 window, deadbolt on the door, no cell signal. Nearest town is 22 miles. I've always felt safe there because of the cameras. I run 6 of them, 1 on the access road, 1 at the tree line, 1 facing the front door, 1 facing the back, 1 at each corner of the cabin. All 6 feed to a battery-powered monitor I keep on the table. I can see every angle from inside the cabin. If anything moves within 40 feet, I see it. That's why what happened last November is the thing I can't explain. I arrived on a Tuesday, checked the cameras, all clear, unloaded the truck, locked the door, stacked firewood, started the stove. By 9 that night, I was in the chair with the monitor on the table and a book in my hand. All 6 feeds live, nothing moving. I fell asleep in the chair around 10. I don't know what woke me up at 1 a.m. Not a sound, not a noise. Just that feeling you get sometimes, the feeling that something has changed. I sat still and looked at the monitor. All 6 feeds, clear. Nothing at the road, nothing at the tree line, nothing at the door, nothing at the corners. I sat there for almost a minute. Then I noticed something. The air in the cabin felt different, not cold from a draft, just moved, like something had passed through it recently. You get that sometimes in small enclosed spaces, a shift, a displacement, like the room had been rearranged by 1 degree. I looked around the cabin, stove burning, 1 lamp on, shadows on the walls, everything the same. I was almost asleep again when I noticed it, the stove. I'd loaded it with 3 logs before I sat down. There were 2, I was certain, 3 logs. I always do 3. 2 in the stove, 1 more than I needed gone. I checked the log pile beside the stove, same number I'd brought in, which meant a log hadn't burned down. A log was missing. I checked the monitor again, all 6 feeds. Nothing. Something brushed against the back of my chair. Light, like fabric shifting against wood. I didn't turn around because I already knew. I wasn't alone in that room. I sat completely still and watched the monitor. All 6 feeds, still nothing. I checked the door, deadbolt engaged, chain on, window latch closed. Nothing had come in, nothing had gone out. I sat back down and told myself I'd miscounted. 3 logs, 2 logs, tired, miscounted. I slept. In the morning, I checked the monitor archive, every camera, all night. The archive showed 8 hours of footage from 6 angles. Not 1 movement, not 1 trigger. Empty road, empty tree line, empty doorstep, all night. I ran my standard morning check, stove condition, gear check, supplies. That's when I found the cup. I own 2 enamel cups, blue and white. I'd used the blue one the night before, washed it, set it on the left side of the shelf. It was on the right side, and the white cup, the one I hadn't touched, had coffee residue inside it, old, dried, like it had been used and not washed. I looked at it for a long time. Then I went back to the monitor archive, checked every feed again. Slower this time, frame by frame on the interior motion logs. The cabin has 1 interior camera I added 2 years ago. Mounted in the corner near the door, covers about 70% of the room. I found 1 triggered image, 2:47 a.m. The image showed the interior of the cabin, Chair, table, stove, me in the chair, asleep, everything exactly as I remembered it. Except for one thing in the far right corner. The 70% the camera covered was clear. But the 30% it didn't. The corner behind the stove was dark. And at the very edge of the frame, just barely visible, was a shape, low, pressed against the wall. I couldn't make it out completely, but it had a horizontal line at the top, like a shoulder. I stared at that image for a very long time. I enlarged it as far as the resolution allowed. The shape didn't resolve into anything clearer. Just a dark mass in the corner, low to the floor, still. I left that morning, didn't pack properly, didn't clean the stove, just loaded what I needed and drove. When I got home, I sent the image to a friend who does video forensics for a living. He looked at it for 2 days, then called me. He said the shape in the corner was consistent with a human figure. Crouched, facing the room, positioned flat against the wall, just outside the camera's field of view. They knew exactly how far it covered, and they stayed just outside it, all night. He pulled the full archive and found something I had missed. At 11:03 p.m., 12 minutes after I fell asleep, the interior camera triggered once. A single frame, me asleep, but the shadow pattern on the back wall was different. The stove light casting in a slightly different direction, which meant something between the lamp and the wall had shifted. Something in the room had moved. He said, "Whatever was in that corner, it was there before you fell asleep, and it was there when you woke up at 1. Something spent 6 hours in that room, not hiding, just staying out of view. The deadbolt was engaged, the chain was on, the window latch was closed, the camera archive showed nothing entering, nothing leaving. And yet, the cup had been used, the log was gone, and something spent 6 hours in the corner behind the stove, 3 feet from where I slept, watching me, waiting. I don't know how they got in. I don't know how they got out. What I know is this. The 6 cameras I trusted completely, the cameras I based my entire sense of safety on, covered every angle except one. And whoever was in that room knew exactly which angle that was. I've been back to the cabin twice since then. I added 4 more cameras, interior angles, total coverage, no blind spots. Nothing has happened, no missing logs, no moved cups, no shapes in corners. But here's the thing I can't shake. Before I trusted those cameras, I felt uneasy out there. After I installed them, I felt safe, completely safe. And that certainty is exactly what let me fall asleep in that chair while something I couldn't see sat in the corner and watched me breathe. I still hunt that cabin, but I don't sleep in the chair anymore. And every night before I close my eyes, I look at the corner behind the stove. For a long time, just to be sure. And some nights, I'm not sure. My name is Joel. I'm 53. I've hunted deer on the same 200 acres in rural Pennsylvania for 19 years. Same property, same stands, same access roads. I know every inch of it. In September 2023, I started noticing something I couldn't explain. It started with the water. I keep a 5-gallon jug at the base of my main stand. Same spot every year. That September, it was always half full when I arrived. Not empty, not full, half, every single morning. I told myself I was miscounting, misremembering. Then I noticed the litter bag. I hang a small bag on the stand frame for wrappers and trash. Every morning it had been tied closed. I never tie it. I just fold the top over. Someone was tying it. Then the wind checker. I hang a small orange cloth from a branch to read wind direction. Every morning it had been moved. Same branch, different position, adjusted, like someone had checked it and repositioned it to match the morning wind. They were improving my setup, not stealing, not destroying, adjusting. Then one morning I found something on the platform that I hadn't left there. A single broadhead arrow tip, clean, placed on its side, centered on the platform, not dropped, set down. I've hunted for 19 years. I know the difference. I set a trail camera on the stand access trail, left it running for a week. When I pulled the card, there was nothing. No person, no movement, just deer and squirrels. But the bag was still being tied. The water jug was still half full. The wind checker still moving. Whoever it was knew the camera was there and was avoiding it. Then I found something that made me stop completely. On the stand platform, a spot I check every morning, was a photograph, printed, small, laminated, a photo of me, taken from a distance, through trees, me climbing into the stand, my face clearly visible. On the back, written in small, neat print, "I know when you're here." No name, no date, just that. I stood on that platform for a long time without moving, because this changed everything. The water, the bag, the wind checker. I told myself those were neutral, compulsive, habitual. But this wasn't neutral, this was directed, this was for me. He wanted me to know he was aware of me specifically. Not just the stand, not just the routine. Me. I added 2 more cameras, different angles, hidden deeper, still nothing. But the pattern continued. Every morning, clockwork. I started keeping a written log, dated entries, exact observations, water level, bag position, wind checker location. I logged every morning for 3 weeks, then I went back through my old hunting journals. I've kept detailed logs for 19 years. On a feeling, I started looking for mentions of small anomalies. Things I'd written off at the time, year 14. Water seems low again, must be evaporation, year 12. Trash bag keeps getting flattened, wind probably, year 10. Notice the wind checker was backward this morning, must have flipped overnight, year 7. Found my spare gloves folded neatly on the stand platform, thought I'd left them loose. I sat with those journals for a long time. 10 years of small anomalies, 10 years of things I explained away. This wasn't new. Whoever this was had been on my property for over a decade, adjusting things, observing things, learning my setup season by season. And I never noticed because each incident on its own was easy to dismiss. That's when the real fear hit. Not fear of being hurt, fear of how long someone had been this close without me ever knowing. It wasn't just the routine that stayed the same. I did too. In October, I changed my schedule. Instead of arriving at 5:30, I started arriving at 4:45. The first morning, the bag wasn't tied. The water jug was untouched. The wind checker hadn't moved. I was too early. Second morning. Same. Third morning. I arrived at my normal time. 5:30. Bag was tied. Water jug half full. Wind checker adjusted. They had noticed the schedule change. They had adapted back. Day 4, I arrived at 4:45 again. Nothing touched. Day 5, 5:30. Everything adjusted. They were tracking which days I came early and which days I didn't. They were learning my new pattern in real time. I set up a camera I'd never used before. Old unit. No cellular, no wireless signal, completely analog. Buried it under leaf litter at the base of the stand, angled upward. If anyone came within 4 feet of that stand in the dark, it would trigger. I left it for 2 weeks. When I pulled it, there were 41 images, 40 of them were deer. The 41st was taken at 4:22 a.m. on a Thursday. A figure standing at the base of the stand, head down, looking at something on the ground. The image quality was poor, low light, grainy. But I could see they were wearing a headlamp turned to its lowest setting. Red light, the kind hunters use to preserve night vision. They knew not to use white light. They weren't a trespasser wandering through. They were a hunter. Someone who knew exactly what they were doing in those woods before dawn. and had been doing it on my property for 10 years. I called the state police, filed a report. They came out, looked at the camera image, took a copy, told me trespassing is a summary offense and without an ID there wasn't much to act on. I asked them what I was supposed to do. The officer said to keep logging it, keep documenting. I asked him if he thought the person was dangerous. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Honestly, someone who's been doing this for 10 years without escalating, they're not there for you. They're there for the routine. They can't stop. The routine is the point." I sat with that, because here's what it meant. I'm not a victim, I'm a resource. I'm the reason the routine exists. Every season I come back, every morning I climb that stand. I'm not just hunting deer. I'm feeding something I can't see. It stopped feeling like I was watching the pattern. It felt like the pattern was watching me. I didn't go back this year. I leased the property out to a different hunting group. New people, different trucks, different schedules. 3 weeks into their season, one of them called me. Said he'd found something strange at the main stand. Water jug, half full, trash bag tied closed, wind checker adjusted. "You leave any of that?" he asked. I told him no. He asked me what he should do. I told him to set up a camera and to check it every morning before 5 a.m. He asked me why so early. I told him the truth. Because whoever it is comes just after that, and they already know your schedule. They've been learning it since day one. My name is Marcus. I'm 44. I've been hunting elk in western Montana for most of my adult life. Same stretch of backcountry, same trails, same cabin. I know those woods the way most people know their own neighborhood. Which is why, when something felt wrong on day 4, I trusted the feeling immediately. It started with the thermos. Green Stanley. I've used it for 8 years. The cap was loose. I never leave the cap loose. I told myself I was being careless. Then I noticed the journal. I keep it on the right side of the table, always. It was on the left, then the camp chair. I always leave it facing the door. It was facing the valley. 3 things in one morning. I pulled my phone and opened the trail cam app. Camera 3, camp perimeter. The last image had fired at 11:14 a.m. I was on the ridge at 11:14. I opened the photo. A man, mid-50s, jeans, red flannel, cap pulled low, walking through my campsite with his hands in his pockets like he owned it. The next image, he'd picked up the thermos, poured himself a cup, pulled the chair around to face the valley, and sat down. He sat in my chair and drank my coffee and looked at my view. I ran back to camp. By the time I got there, he was gone. Nothing out of place except the chair. And the thermos cap, still loose. That night I pulled every camera card. Day 3, camera 3, 11:09 a.m. Same man, same clothes, head tilted back, enjoying the view. Day 2, 11:22 a.m. Standing at the table, reading my journal, turning pages slowly, not skimming. Reading. Day 1, I had left camp at 10:50. Camera 3 fired at 11:03, 13 minutes after I walked out. He was there every day, always when I was gone. I didn't sleep that night. I checked the interior camera. Day 2, 11:31 a.m. Camera 2, the one facing the window, a single image, a hand pressed flat against the glass. From outside, just the hand, looking in. I set my alarm for 4 a.m. Next morning, I was hidden in the tree line 60 yards east of the cabin before first light. Face dark, wind in my face, no movement. At 5:10, something moved on the north side of the clearing, upright, deliberate. He stood at the tree line for nearly 10 minutes. Just watching the cabin, checking for smoke, checking for light, making sure I was gone. When he was satisfied, he walked in. Straight to the table, picked up the journal, found the last entry, read it slowly. Then he took out a pen and wrote something in the margin. I stepped out of the trees. "Hey!" He turned around. He didn't flinch. He didn't run. He looked at me the way you look at someone who interrupted you while you were reading. Mild, unbothered. He closed the journal carefully, set it back where he found it, exact same position, and smiled. "You changed your schedule," he said, quiet, calm, like he'd been waiting for exactly that. Not surprised I'd caught him. Surprised it took me this long. I hadn't told anyone I was coming that day. I told him to get off my land. He nodded once, walked back into the trees the same way he came. Slow, no hurry. I waited until he was gone. Then I opened the journal, found the margin next to my last entry, 4 words, clean handwriting, careful letters. "You write well, Marcus." My name. That afternoon I packed up camp. Before I left, I checked every camera one last time. Camera 6, eastern approach, furthest out, one final image. Taken 40 minutes after I told him to leave, he was standing at the tree line, arms at his sides, still there. He hadn't left. He'd just moved out of range of the other cameras, still watching while I packed, still watching when I loaded the truck. I drove 4 hours home without stopping. That night, I opened the full cloud archive on my laptop. 7 years of images. I started at the beginning. Year 1, day 3, camera 1, north fence line, a figure in the brush, same cap, younger face, watching the cabin while I carried firewood from the truck to the porch. Year 3, him at the woodpile, touching the axe handle, setting it back exactly as he found it. Year 5, standing at the window, the same window with the handprint, looking in while I cooked. I was right there, inside, 3 feet from the glass. And I never knew. I kept going back, deeper, until I found the earliest image in the archive. Year 1, day 2, my second day on the property. He was already there, standing at the edge of the clearing, watching me unload. 7 years. Then I noticed something about that first image that I hadn't caught before. I zoomed in on his face. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the tree where camera 1 was mounted, directly at it. He knew where it was. From day 1, which means for 7 years, every time he walked. Some of these stories continue because people keep encountering the same systems. If you want to hear the next ones, staying subscribed is how they reach you.